Welcome back to some new r/PettyRevenge stories, where people share small victories over those who wronged them. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called Worst Customer. Several years ago, I worked the late shift as an online customer support agent for a women's clothing company. The other CSAs and I were constantly mistreated by crappy customers, and our managers did absolutely nothing to support us. The company valued its customers so much that the rules for dealing with them were disgustingly lax. We had a free strike policy, where a customer could say pretty much anything they wanted, up to 3 times, before they were disconnected and banned. But we also had a 1-day turnover policy, where if a customer was cut off for inappropriate behavior, the ban was reset the next day. So someone could come in, call you names 3 times, get kicked off, and then come and do it again the next day. The entire time I worked there, I never saw a single person get permanently banned. I eventually ended up quitting, specifically because a customer harassed me to the point of me crying, and my manager's response was that I could have an unpaid 10-minute break now, instead of my 15-minute break later. One of the worst customers was this woman we'll call Katie. This woman would enter our CSA chats around midnight, drunk. She admitted to this. She would say increasingly bad things. After the 3rd strike, we let her know we could no longer help her, and we disconnect her. And then she'd pop back and chat within a few days, and the whole thing would start over. She always said the same kind of things. She clearly knew she could say 3 separate terrible things to us. Our managers never helped or stepped in. I once looked this woman up. I wanted to know who she was. To my surprise, I found out that she was a therapist. She had her own practice. I was baffled. What she did was a horrible, cruel, unkind thing. I couldn't believe a therapist would do this. I later quit working at the company. I waited a few weeks, and then I made a phone call to Katie's practice. I spoke to Katie. I told her I was seeking therapy. During our intake call, she asked me what kind of issues I was facing. Well, I said, I do this really weird, psychotic thing a few nights a week. I get really drunk, and I start a chat with minimum wage customer support agents, and I tell them the worst things. That's so crazy, right? She made a tiny noise. A moment passed. The call disconnected. My friends at the company said that she never messaged them again. The next story is called Electric Fence. As teens, we had horses. For some reason, in the winter, the deer would break the top wire of the electric fence, always at the furthest point in the pasture too. So when we went out to do chores before school, if the fence was broken, we had to fix it so the horses could be turned out. I would unplug the fencer, drag supplies up the hill and splice the fence. As soon as I got the pieces together, zap. I was pretty sure I unplugged the fencer, but it was early morning, so maybe I forgot. I got back down to the barn, and my brother was doing chores. I asked him, and he said he plugged it back in, because he saw it was unplugged and wanted to help. I told him not to plug it in unless he finds me first. And why? Well, next time I am on the hill. Zap. I told him again, and rinse and repeat for 2 weeks. Nothing I said got him to stop, until we had a 8-cylinder truck, and Dad decided it needed a tune-up. He got all the stuff and asked my brother to do the tune-up. I knew my way around auto repair and had done a tune-up or 2 myself. So I knew exactly what I was doing. I was helping. The hood was up and he had gone to get another tool. So I figured I would help by pulling all the spark plug wires of both the distributor and the spark plugs. He came back and I told him really excitedly that I helped him get started and showed him how. I thought he was going to cry. He asked why I pulled them all. I told him that he had been so helpful with the fence and plugging it in for me, and that I wouldn't be a great sister if I didn't help him when he needed it. He was mad, but learned his lesson. Having to figure out the firing order for the truck without Google to help took him 2 hours, but he did stop plugging the fencer in on me. The third story is called Startup Bro. I'm an academic researcher. I won a tech competition last year and started getting hate mail from a startup bro from my country, who was probably just jealous, because his team hadn't even made it to the finals of the same competition 3 years ago. Just my guess. He was now the CEO of a growing startup. The content of the hate mail was usually just insults, mixed with explaining that I wasn't really good in my field and didn't deserve any acclaim. It hit the fan when he actually made the effort to attend a Zoom lecture of mine to hurl insults in the comments. That was embarrassing. I wanted revenge in a way that would prove my merit as well. I ordered his company's product, a special water filtration apparatus, and made some neat improvements to it, which made it much cheaper. I found one of his close competitors, who operates in the same region, and gave the product to them in exchange for a payment and an advisory position. This was also a small company that was neck and neck with the dude who was harassing me. It's been 1 year, and the competitor has almost fully dominated the market. I haven't announced my affiliation with the competitor yet, but I'm about to. I wish I could see his reaction live when he finds out I helped the competitor. The next story is called Outdated Rules. This happened in the late 90s. My buddy lived in the Bay Area, in an old subdivision built 1900s to 1930s, for the most part. The HOA is super relaxed, mostly not enforced, unless a big issue, basically used to upkeep gardens in the neighborhood. Buddy is building an addition on his house. He asked the folks on all sides if it was an issue. It was not. Several neighbors had done similar. The folks behind them, Laurie, said it was cool. The addition is built 90%. Laurie is friends with Maria. She lives 5 to 6 houses away. Maria puts a bug in Laurie's ear about how terrible this is. Finds the clause in the 1912 HOA that the addition was 3 feet over the limit. Buddy tries to say these are old, outdated rules, that he can give 12 plus examples other people have violated, but to no avail. Buddy gets a cease building notice, told to tear it down. This starts a 10-month legal battle, literally ruins relationships of parents, kids, just a huge pain over nothing. Laurie avoids Buddy and family. Maria is smug and a huge jerk, speaking at every HOA meeting, taking the mantle on this fight. Literally yells at Buddy and his wife when she sees them. Buddy gets word the final decision is coming to a head. All parties involved in a packed HOA meeting. Maria pressed her point to get it torn down. Buddy gets up and says, "Okay, fine. I'll accept your ruling to tear it down. If we are going to stick to the letter of the law of these outdated rules, then turn to page 127, section 1. No minorities will be allowed to live, rent, or stay in said neighborhood." Then he goes on to list every minority you can think of. Maria is Hispanic. Her face goes pale. Buddy goes, "Are we done with this?" They were. The HOA rejected it, and he finished the addition. Now all the neighbors hate each other. Maria moved away shortly thereafter. The fifth story is called Not Trespassing. We rented an Airbnb in a neighboring city to spend the weekend there. It was in an apartment complex, and the only way you could get in was through a fob key. There were 2 entrances, one from outside that took you into a vestibule, and the second was from the vestibule into the lobby of the building. My friend and I went downstairs to smoke. We were wearing hoodies and sweatpants, and stayed under the building canopy as it was raining. These 2 older ladies that lived there were trying to go into the building, and were giving us some pretty dirty looks. They were whispering to themselves in French, thinking we couldn't understand, and said something about us being homeless. My friend and I were done smoking, and wanted to head inside too. Someone was coming out of the building at this time, so we all tried to go in at the same time. The 2 older ladies went in and tried shoving us back out, thinking we were trespassing. and aggressively closed the door behind them. My friend and I were in utter disbelief. I understand that they probably weren't used to us being around and didn't believe we were staying there, but they could have just been polite and asked if we had a fob. Anyway, we used the fob and got into the vestibule. They seemed to be fumbling around for their keys. They didn't have to use it coming in, because they intersected with someone coming out of the building. It seemed like they had forgotten their keys upstairs, and I could tell they were panicking. My friend and I used the fob again and got into the building. They looked absolutely baffled. And guess what we did? We got in and closed the door behind us. They were too embarrassed to ask us to let them in and continued to fumble around for their keys. My friend and I wished them a good night in French and went upstairs. The last story is called My Email Address. I've had my email address since the early days of Gmail, and for the longest time, there's someone out there who has been using it, or at least trying, for all sorts of things. I've gotten gas station updates, financial aid notifications, volunteer schedules, job interview offers, and so many password reset attempts for other services. This person signed up for a streaming service. I changed the password, and they auto-paid for 6 months before fixing it. I scheduled a job interview, then rescheduled it. Recently I got a payroll account setup email for a new job, I guess. I set up the account. Later got the email that the email for the account had been changed. They signed up for a Starbucks account. I don't go to Starbucks. I got a happy birthday email from Starbucks yesterday. It's not my birthday. So now I'm drinking my free $9 cold brew. I tell them directly to stop using my account, but I don't know their email address. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.